It's been morning.
Tony complained.
Where did I get my agenda? Oh, here we go. First on the agenda is Robbins, 1 Allison Lane. Oh, hi.
Here we are.
Come and talk to us.
Zero to us. I think the rest of our team's here on Zoom, and so Brad Schwartz, whose law firm's helping represent us in this, could probably explain the details better, but high level, we were in front of this particular committee recently, in the last few months, and I think, broadly speaking, our project has had to incorporate feedback, particularly with respect to wetland buffers, so we had to really take into consideration some ERB feedback, which forced us to go back to the proverbial drawing board. We made some adjustments, and I think we're now at a place where we've really finalized the project. We got conditional approval just Monday night from the ERB, subject to 1 or 2 mild things, which are easily solved for. And so we're here tonight to show you the final plan, hopefully get your feedback and move forward with approval from the ZBA. And I think with that, just having level set it for everybody, I'll pass it on to Brad, who can walk through some of the stuff, and then Matt Jones, my landscape architect, and Jeff Agarian, our engineer, who could speak to some of the more details on the project.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Director Brad Schwartz. I apologize, I wish I could have been there in person tonight, but there's COVID going through my house, I wasn't feeling great, so I erred on the side of caution and decided to do the meeting from home this evening. Danny just did a nice opening to set the table. As I mentioned, we did receive additional approval from the ERB just 2 nights ago. We did not want to come back to your board until we had closed out the ERB process. The couple of design tweaks that Danny mentioned have no bearing on the variances. The plans that are in front of you are the plans that we're seeking approval for regarding the variances. The project in general involves some backyard retaining work that necessitates 3 variances related to side yard setback and rear yard setback. And it is developing coverage variances. So the 4th variance that relates primarily to that is in the front yard. I hear a lot of chatter. Do you all hear me okay?
Someone used to be.
Yeah, someone had to mute their box, which has happened.
Okay. I'm not going to repeat that. We have Jeff Agarian with us, the engineer. We lose at 7:30. I want to make sure we keep a minute or two for Jeff to briefly walk the board through the stormwater design plan. But first, I'll turn it over to Matt to walk the board through the overview of the project.
Hello, everyone. The design intent behind these improvements was to bring better functionality to the driveway, up the lawn, areas in the backyard in proximity to that, and other proposed improvements. The lot has a very awkward shape. There's a brook that meanders along the road, and the house is set back off the road approximately 200 feet. The driveway in the area of the garage doors is undersized. The distance to back out varies from 26 feet at the shortest spot by the existing retaining wall. Is a normal distance for the there's also 2 parks off to the side, but the reason that we want to encourage this driveway and reroute it towards the front door is because the current configuration isn't allowing for guests and delivery vehicles to maneuver now with ease. So we'd like to do a break line, then drive front door. We propose a circle turnaround, not through the grade turnaround than that, but it'll be much more effective for vehicles.
Hey, Matt, it's Danny speaking. I just so you know, you're cutting out quite a bit, and I'm not sure if it's a Wi-Fi issue, but considering Brad is sharing the screen, it may be technologically more efficient to just dial in, and perhaps you can just use, telephonically to speak and cut out the gaps in communication.
Alright, so I'm gonna move it in the house.
Or that.
Steve Walker.
Never works.
Okay.
And while you're getting set up again, I just want to share just a photo of the existing conditions, that you all appreciate just how narrow the existing driveway is and why Robin seeks to create that sort of turnaround leading to the front door. I don't know if any of you had a chance to actually go out into the site, so we took some photos that we could share this evening. So this is the narrow driveway leading into Off Street. So I'll go back to the plan now. Now, let's see if that's better.
Alright, so Danny, tell me if it's still cutting out once I start going again.
Okay.
So also as part of this project, we want to add a pathway on the right side of the house. There's currently no access on the left side due to the tall existing retaining wall. So this new pathway would bring you to a small garden. You can see in the first 3D graphic in the top left corner, you see the motor court and how a pathway brings you into this entry grading to occur in order to create a lawn plateau up by the pool so that we can have a little more lawn area in the backyard. There'll be a set of stairs set into the slope that'll connect this new pathway down to the lower lawn woodland area. And there will be no grading occurring in the woodland, and all areas that are being disturbed as part of this project are currently lawn, and they will be returned to lawn and landscaping. We also want to add patio in the sunnier portion of the yard by the pool, to be supported by a boulder retaining wall. That patio does require, it's like a 2-foot variance we're asking. The existing patio is slightly over the setback line currently, and we're just trying to center that patio on the interior living room of the house. Because there's currently no real design to the patio they have in the backyard. And then there's a wall and some steps, and we want to go up to that, create a small lawn sitting area that overlooks the rest of the yard. That would also have another small set of stairs that would access the children's play area that's to the left side of the house. Surrounding all of these patios and walkways is a lot of landscaping. There's no need for privacy because there's a lot of existing large mature vegetation surrounding the yard, and the neighbors are all uphill. And as part of the environmental review board meeting on Monday night, we showed the ERB that we will be doing a 1-to-1 ratio of landscape mitigation, and that's all along the woodland. And we're also going to be using pervious asphalt for the new asphalt areas in the driveway, because that was another little bit of concern.
Hey Matt, before you go on, I'm going to interrupt you, only because we lose Jeff, the engineer, in just a minute or two. So I wanna stop this plan and ask Jeff to speak for a moment on the stormwater design.
Good evening, everybody. So yes, quickly I'll touch on the stormwater design. Due to the increase in impervious area in the driveway and in the rear yard, we're proposing to install 2 1,290 gallon siege tanks, one in the front yard and one in the rear yard. As depicted on the plan. For the rear yard, stormwater will be routed via a series of lawn drains, PVC piping into the area as depicted. The driveway is going to be curved, so all the water will be contained within the driveway area, and then be routed to the spring post 100-year hydrographs have been performed, so these tanks have the adequate volume to store that increase in impervious area and the increase.
Questions, now's your chance. I guess, hearing none, Jeff, thank you for joining.
Will do. Okay, good luck, thank you.
It's been passed, the stormwater has been passed upon.
It has not been evaluated by the town engineer as of yet. The application, yeah.
But Brad, that was really all I had as far as a walkthrough. So I'm ready. I'll take questions too.
That's fine, and just to show the board, so here's the pool patio area that requires the 14-foot side yard variance, it's 45-foot requirement, and so it's a 14 foot variance, right here, this right here is the setback line, and you see the patio intruding a little bit over that line. Here's the hatch patio that requires a 13-foot rear yard variance. And up here is that lawn patio that requires a 42-foot rear yard. This got some attention back in November, you recall. I just want to just really highlight, this really isn't a patio in the traditional sense. It is a lawn seating area with some decorative bluestone trim. It's that bluestone trim that triggers the need for a variance. This is essentially lawn area with some seating. And I have a photo also to show you without. Why? One moment.
Yeah, they did.
Hold up.
It's not good. How are you gonna show it to everyone?
They just did some change.
Okay, you want to show it?
To the stairs that lead up to this seating area. So this is where there would be that bluestone trim with the retaining wall and just some seats. So those are the three setback variances associated with the three patios, which get all triggered, especially by the irregular shape of the site and the fact that so much of the property is within wetland buffer. There really is just a very small area where the ROC can make these type of backyard improvements. And then the fourth variance again is the coverage, and that is necessitated largely by the driveway improvement. I showed you a picture earlier of the narrow driveway and hence the need for the large circular turnaround for vehicular delivery and safety. So we walked the board through the 5-factor test in our submission letter. Happy to go through the 5 factors if you like, or we can just pause on our presentation and take any questions.
Could I just ask on the development coverage, back in October, at the time that the building department looked at the applications, I think that the proposed development coverage was 14,627. Is it now 1552?
15,121.
15,121. So 15,128% variance and 11% variance as a result of the driveway change.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What changed?
So the total development coverage is now 15,121.
Okay,
And that's a jump from 8% variance to an 11% variance. That again was a result largely of the change by removing the pavilion as the ERB requested and providing the circular driveway in the front of the house. So it was a small increase in development coverage.
But she came, last time you were here, it was a 10% variance, not an 8%, and you went up to 11. So I think you'd be better if you accepted an only 1% change rather than a 2% change.
So noted.
I think also just to contextualize what happened, and I can't speak about it with certainly the expertise that they can, but is just the homeowner in full transparency. We had a draft.
English would be preferred.
Yes,
so-
exactly, thank you.
Right.
We had a draft that included a pavilion. They were calling it a pavilion. We thought about it as a pool house. That was taking up a big part of the budget. It couldn't work on the property according to the DRB. We had to capitulate on that point and to be
We
flexible.
tried to move it to like
Yeah, we
make
tried
it
to move,
work.
it didn't work, we got rid of it. The Circle Drive was always our goal. We have a enormous problem with deliveries. They do an 8-point turn. It's so clunky, it's very awkward. And even when we have company over, when you have more than 2 or 3 cars in a driveway, it's really like bumper cars. We had always wanted to do it, we just frankly didn't have the budget to do everything. And so when the pavilion got removed, I asked the landscape architect, can we please put this in? This is really would be like a goal of ours to have it, and now we might be able to afford it.
Especially
And so
after
it
feedback.
effectively changed our rendering, which is what modified the percentage terms.
Okay. So Tony, what is the right development coverage number? Is it 15,121?
15,121,
Okay.
right, is the right number, 11%.
And the pavilion, I don't know, the pavilion was on the original plan?
Correct, that was always on the plan. I don't remember the exact timeline and when it went off, but I believe basically right before we presented you guys last time, the ERB had given us the feedback that it had to get moved. We tried to move it. I mean, I have renderings, I worked with the architect to move it across 3 different locations that technically weren't wetland buffer, but it was so awkward and it was so forced that aesthetically it was ruining it, and so we removed it, I think sometime around October.
Right, so that's something that's been taken out.
It's been, yeah, like definitively and categorically removed from the project.
And that's why it was causing some confusion back in November, because it was removed shortly before that meeting, so it was shown on plans that were originally submitted to your board in a position outside the buffer as the ERB had requested, but then upon further reflection, it was removed in the drawing and hence the driveway, so the plan before you tonight obviously does not show the pavilion anywhere removed from the application.
Thank you.
And the ERB was quite pleased by that Monday night. And again, their only comments were to convert some of the driveway to a pervious paver and also to show the septic location plan, which obviously we did.
Any other questions by the board? Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this? Are there any digital hands up?
No hands are raised.
Thank you. I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper,
In favor?
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Mullen.
Aye. I'd like to make a motion.
This is a difficult one, but I'll try it.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna make a motion that the application, Robin's application for 4 variances. The 14-foot side yard variance for the pool patio, 42-foot rear yard variance for the lawn patio structure, 13-foot rear yard variance for the bluestone patio, hatch patio, and a development coverage variance of 15, development coverage of 15,121, which is an 11% variance. I'll move that we approve this application for the following reasons. This is a difficult property to work on. There's a lot of wetlands, it's hilly. The house is way back off the road, requiring a very long driveway. And the applicant has done the best possible that they could to alleviate some of their problems and come up with a reasonable plan. They've been before us before and come back with improvements to it. They've been in front of the ERB, and who else were you in front of the architectural board as well?
Architectural
Board.
Now useless, as is the feedback of the architect. That's okay.
And have done all possible to make this a good project for all concerned. The granting of the variance will not create an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. There are no other means available to achieve the desired end. While some of this may be considered a self-created hardship, the benefit to the applicant would far outweigh any perceived detriment to the neighborhood or the town. And if you can start within 6 months and finish within a year and give what you grant.
And for the record, Mr. Giardina mentioned an 11% development coverage, just the exact number is a variable, so we just gotta make sure that the ERB
Yes,
is
let's
taken.
get that in there as well.
Yeah.
And I should have said 1552, but I skipped right to my 11%, sorry about that.
Anthony Giardina,
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Mullen.
Aye. Thank you, you have your variance,
Thank you.
variances.
Thank you.
Millwood Road, did I skip one?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Is
Oh,
this-
Martin, I'm sorry. Martin, 18 Paulding Drive.
We're good.
Good. Should I kick it off?
Yes, please do.
Alright, so we met last month. We had installed a 4-foot fence in our backyard. Our backyard unfortunately is Paulding Drive, which we feel is a hardship, so we put up a 4-foot fence to provide some privacy for our 4 children, ages 4, 6, 8, and 10. Previously they were playing right on Paulding Drive there, on top of our stone wall, which is either level 2 or subterranean of our yard. We set up our driveway. The 6 houses that you see first all have the same style fence, same exact color. So I think we were well put out in that approach. I think we left it with you guys last time that half of you were okay with the variance, and then I think there was, 1 or 2 folks that wanted to come out and do a site visit. I think that's where, that's sort of where we left.
To the site visit that I did, so I did note that at 236 Bedford, there is a similar style fence, 6-foot fence on top of a 2-foot wall. I note that in the general area, including Kitchewan, I did not see other walls and fences of the same construction. The walls seem to vary in height, partly or entirely because of the topography, I think. Closest to the driveway, I think it ranged from 47 inches to 49 in gap between the wall and the start of the fence. That doesn't include. My own observation is that that this structuring the installation, I think the board would have directed you to look at regrading the area where there is a drop off, because there obviously is a severe drop or greater. And I think then you could have been consistent with the town code. Make a visit and have anything different or additional to add?
Well, I've chosen to do something different if it were me, but we're not the design police. We're the zoning board. And in this particular fence, while I'm not happy with it, I don't think it's egregious enough to have the applicant rip it down or change it or in any way like that. I would grudgingly agree to approve this unless somebody can tell me some really particular reason why we shouldn't. But for the record, I'm not quite happy with the design choice.
Mr. Martin, can I just ask, so as you travel down Paulding is sort of open to the street?
Yeah,
Could you explain that?
The wall for all of the children's functional, all of their play structures are. So that's the part that, we chose to, time and money to, get a structure with sound. And hopefully positive look for the neighborhood, but, that's, you're correct, it's about half of our property.
Can you tell us in your own land defense along your backyard, what was the reason for the
Because
choice?
And sorry, I don't know your name, who spoke before, but you sort of gave the example of the wall, the yard being 0 and the wall, and then, the wall is in most cases in the backyard lower than our backyard. It just happens to be the grade. So if I'm 6'2", if I'm standing in the backyard and you're standing on the road, you're see, from the road while they're, playing, if someone drives by and my kids are basically on a stage eye level with, cars and trucks, it's just an unfortunate circumstance of the grade of the yard and how it was designed.
Thank you. Do we have anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter?
Did we discuss if they were to lower the fence on top of the wall, so there
Well,
isn't
he
that?
just said it'd be too low for behind.
You can't do it,
Well, you can do it, but it doesn't,
cause the
I
fence,
don't wanna speak for him,
the
but
the stone wall isn't level.
no.
And I think the,
Are you guys referring to the gap?
Yeah.
Yeah, the gap unfortunately is because the stone wall isn't level. Obviously for, like, that project took 2 weeks, right? It was very methodical. Stone wall work, 2 panels up at a time. It took over 2 weeks. To do all of that and make a straight line, unfortunately, again, a very old wall, lots of water in this area. I'm guessing things set over time. And so, what I wanted to do obviously was make that as flush as possible with the engineering. It just wasn't possible because there are some part of a straight line, otherwise you wouldn't have been able to put it in. So believe me guys, I thought of all of this as well. We really did try to, I think do everything in spirit of the neighborhood and try to be good neighbors. So, we really appreciate you hearing us out.
I move we close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a reluctant motion to approve.
All right, thank you guys very much. Have a great
Not
night.
finished yet, though.
no.
Not done yet.
We didn't vote yet.
Alright, I'm gonna make a motion that the Martin application on 18 Pauling Drive for a 2-foot wall variance where there is fence variance where 6 foot is allowed and 8 foot is existing. Be approved for the following reasons. The applicant has tried his best to keep the fence as low as possible and still afford protection for his backyard where his children play and for their privacy and their safety. Determined that the height of this fence is as low as it can go and still afford the desired effect and end. While the design is not the best design in the world, but I will reluctantly say that it's acceptable. The granting of the variance will not create an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. There are other white vinyl fences in the neighborhood. There was no other method sought that could achieve the desired end. It's the 2-foot variance, in my opinion, is not substantial. In this particular event, it's not a substantial variance. There will be no adverse environmental effects in the neighborhood with the approval of this wall. This is definitely a self-created hardship, but self-created hardships are not necessarily cause for denial. If you can give us a finished survey of the wall dimensions and the fence dimensions, we should approve.
Someone like to second?
I'll second the motion.
The town would like to see, I think if entire sites were enclosed in 8-foot fences, it would detract from, I think there are other means that the applicant could have used in achieving the same thing. And I do think it would be an adverse impact on the,
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Grudgingly, aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
you have your variance, Mr. Martin.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Now we're gonna do Brewer.
Okay, hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I'm Frank Tancredi, the Brewers architect. I'm here tonight with Laura Brewer.
I'm sorry, if you could speak up a bit now, we're having a little trouble hearing you.
Okay, it's Frank Tancredi, architect. And I'm here tonight with Laura Brewer of 283 Millwood Road. And we're here to ask for a 10-foot variance on an existing structure, legal non-conforming structure. Can I share my screen now?
Sir, could you move closer to the microphone or do something to increase the volume?
Can you hear me now? Better?
Seems better, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. I'll try to talk a little louder. Okay. You can see it okay?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So this is a plot plan of the existing house, which was built in 1953. And where we're proposing to do some work is on the back of the house. There's an existing stone terrace here right off the kitchen area. And this area here is a one-story family room with a cathedral ceiling, and this is an open porch, with a little shed roof. I'll share some photos in a moment. It's unfortunate that this, when they built the house, they pushed it over.
Maybe, could we start with perhaps the applicant just describing in a non-technical sense what it is she's looking to accomplish?
Okay.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Brewer. Thank you so much for having me and taking the time. I love living in my house, and I recently gave birth to a second child. And
Sure.
you can't hear me?
No, we can hear you. It would help if you could speak a little louder, but we can hear you better than your architect.
Okay, I'm gonna just shout. So thank you so much for having me. I'm the homeowner. I love living here. I recently gave birth to a second child, and my family has expanded. And I'm looking to just get some additional square footage of living space that I can use year-round versus just in the summer. So currently, I have a porch that extends across on the other side of my family room, and there's a stone patio. So I'm looking to, Frank is showing it there. I'm looking to enclose that space and just make it indoor living space and one larger family room.
Also, we're going to be bumping out the kitchen, but that doesn't require a variance.
Correct.
Is the room that's being expanded a family room, and this will, the net result will be, this will be a larger family room?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
The room currently is, it's a family room with a cathedral ceiling. It's really the playroom right now, but this open porch would be enclosed, and that would be, serve as like the TV room with access to the terrace. This kitchen bump out would also give them a little more room in the kitchen, so they're not crowded around the table. Where there's a bay window here, with the window seat gets a little tight. So we're gonna, bump out the kitchen. Everything is on existing foundation and, stonework. We'll put footings and whatnot, but we're not disturbing, grade outside of what's already been, developed. So there's, zero impact on that. It's just unfortunate if you look at our site plan that the current setback of 35 feet goes about halfway through the, this room in this porch. So currently it's about 25 feet, and that's where we're asking for a 10-foot variance because we are going from changing use from, outside space to interior habitable space.
Are there any questions from the audience?
No hand.
No, okay, thank you. I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Wait, I think somebody wants to speak.
Oh,
No, they're getting ready.
Let's go on
I
to
think
this.
that's David Graham.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't see it. I don't see my, oh, maybe they have to, when he gets off.
could someone mute themselves? We can hear you speaking in the background.
No, just the family who's being here. There's no one else.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs. Michael Nolan.
Aye.
I'll make a motion. I move that the Brewer application for a side yard variance of 10 feet to expand a family room in a pre-existing non-conforming home built in 1963 to make better use of the home, given their expanding family. There will be no undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. The benefits cannot be sought through other means. This is the logical location for this expansion to take place. The requested variance is not substantial. There will be no adverse impact on the physical environment, and due to the pre-existing non-conforming site, this is not a self-created difficulty. You'll have 6 months to start, 1 year to complete. We'll need a foundation survey prior to framing.
I'll second that.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
And I'm sorry, I would just add, there were no neighbors who spoke in opposition. Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye. Thank you, you have your variance.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
You're welcome, good night.
Robertson is next. Do we have Robertson?
David Graham was there. David Graham was here.
Where is he?
Name is up there, he's outside. Here's Mr.
There
Robertson.
he is.
Mr. Robertson?
No, there's Graham.
David Graham, you're on, David.
I think David Graham is joining us as well.
Yeah, hi, how are you?
We're good.
Doing well, we can hear you, David.
Yeah. Oh, man, please.
We never have trouble hearing David Graham.
Okay, we can hear you. You're all set.
Okay, I'm David Graham, I'm here, representing, Craig representing there at 34 Bittersweet Lane. And, the reason why we're here is there's a one-story, 10 by 16, storage shed that's to the right side of the property. That was built a couple of years ago without, and it wasn't permitted. And we are trying to legalize it, and it requires a front and a side yard variance. The existing front yard is 38.34 feet, where 60 feet is required. So that would require a 21.66 front yard variance. And on the right side, to the property line, side property line, we are 8.12 feet, where 35 is required, requiring a 26.88 side yard variance. So that's why we're here tonight, hoping to obtain those variances so that we can, get a building permit and a CBO for the structure.
So I understand that the shed is there in place now, but given your vivid imagination, there's no other location on this property that you could relocate the shed to that would not require a variance?
Well, the issue is there's a stream at the back of the property that runs, 1/3 from the rear. And the 100-foot setback line, comes to in front of the house. So the shed where it's located is just shy of 100 feet from the stream. It's 92.3. So those other locations, encroach
onto the wetlands and also the septic, we're trying to avoid that.
So Mr. Robertson, maybe you could explain to us the location of the shed in proximity to your closest neighbor. Could you help us understand that?
Yeah, happy to. So, we have a relatively short driveway. The shed is, just on the right-hand side of the driveway. As you come down, the driveway. That is separated between us and our nearest neighbor by a series of vegetation, pine trees and other long-standing vegetation that has been there. And the shed was not put on a foundation. It actually sitting on top of a gravel bed. And the intention there was, I didn't necessarily understand that we needed a permit to put a shed without a foundation in that location. So obviously an oversight on my part, but the intention was to create additional space for us close to the area of utility. The house was built in 1965, I believe. One of the garage bays is less than 183 inches, so I'm not sure if you measured any recent automobiles, but most automobiles are larger than that. And so it creates virtually no storage space in the garage bay, which requires pipes and other things to find other homes. So as a result, I made the decision to put a non sort of foundation based shed right next to the driveway for easy access.
So even though there isn't a foundation, you did have to create a retaining wall and raise the level of the placement location for the shed, right?
That's right.
And your closest neighbor, have they ever had any comment about the shed being as close to their property as it is?
They have not, to my knowledge.
Okay. Questions?
Is anything being done with the shed, or is you're not putting foundation in with the shed now, it's just gonna remain on the gravel?
Correct.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter? No. I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
I'll make a motion. I move that the Robertson application to legalize a shed requiring front yard variance of 22 feet, side yard variance of 27 feet, be approved for the following reasons. I'm sorry, how long has the shed been in place?
It's been in place less than 4 years.
I'm sorry, how many years?
Less than
4.
4, okay. The shed has been in place for 4 years. There have been no neighbors to speak in opposition of it. It does appear to be well screened. The site is challenged by a brook that travels through it. Therefore, there not being alternative logical locations for the shed. There will be no undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. The benefits cannot be sought through other means or methods. The variance could be termed substantial. There will be no adverse impact on the physical environment, and the difficulty is not self-created given the water that travels through the property. Do you have the survey is sufficient for what we have?
Yes, sir.
Yes. For these reasons, I think we should approve.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
And for the record, ERB approval, because there is the brook running through the backyard, so condition on ERB approval.
Okay. So noted. Thank you, Mr. Robertson, you have your variance.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, David.
Rosenthal, 89 Hilltop Drive.
Is there someone representing Rosenthal here?
No.
Okay. Move on.
Chabra, 14 Chapel Farm Mountain Road.
Yes, hi, this is Atul Chabra.
Good evening.
Good evening, can I start now?
Yes, please do.
Great, thank you. So first of all, thanks everyone for giving me the opportunity and the time to review this application. I've lived in Chappaqua since 2007. Really enjoyed the neighborhood, done many modifications to my house. Because my house sits right next to a wetland, right next to a stream, every little update I do has to go through wetlands permit approval, so I'm no stranger to the environmental coordinator and the building inspector. This particular project is a fairly small one. It's a modest sized house, but nevertheless the house structure has no bearing on this request. Let me share my screen and bring up the. Give me 1 second. Okay, this is an aerial view of the house. Right?
Yeah, we're not, I'm sorry, sir, we're not seeing it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I am sharing it, right?
Why don't you go out and come back in? Stop sharing and then try to share it again.
All right. Okay,
We can see it, yes.
all right, great. So this is an aerial view of the property. Right close to the bottom edge of the picture is a stream. And from the house towards the stream is a steep slope, as I've indicated here. I'm hoping you can see my cursor, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. There's also a steep slope over here. So the request is to install a generator and seek a couple of feet of variance from the side yard setback. The reason that I need that variance is the only good place to install a generator is around this area, where there is a somewhat of a flat area here where we can install a little pad and put a generator on it. Over here is all very steep slope. In the front is a big rock and steep slope. The electrical main panel is right here in the garage. So ideally, the generator should be somewhere up close to the garage. And I find this to be the best place. I can't figure out any other place to install this. And you could easily move this a few feet to the right and not ask for a variance, but the problem is there's a fence installed over here. There's a gate over here. I need access to that gate to carry, or rather my lawn mowing contractor to carry their mowers and other tools and so on. So I'm really pushed into having this close to the corner of this stone wall, which would require about 3 feet of variance in terms of side yard setback. I have spoken to the neighbor, shown him these pictures, and discussed the project with him. The neighbor that is impacted at 10 Chappaqua Homes Road. They have given me a no objection letter, which is enclosed along with my application.
Mr. Chhabra, could I
Yes.
just ask, looking at your survey, the generator appears to be some distance off of the house. How many feet is it actually off of the house? It doesn't appear that way on the drawing that you have up now, but on the survey, it looks like it's.
On the survey, because you're seeing the survey on the screen right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there is no stone wall shown on the survey. And that's why the orientation and the location of the generator is sort of approximate there. I would request you to look at the aerial picture that gives you a precise location.
So are you saying that the stone wall would impede placing the generator closer to the home?
Yes, so out here is a septic area, and this is a fenced yard where my dogs play. I would prefer not to have the generator on the other side of the wall. It would be much nicer to have it this side of the wall.
Okay, so just our concern is to grant where we do grant, a variance for the least, amount of,
Yeah. Understood.
space. And so I just wanna be clear, and I guess I don't wanna repeat myself, but so you have placed the generator as close to the house as you can because of these other physical impediments that exist?
Yes.
Okay.
And but the stone wall already extends beyond that. I don't know what the zoning requirements of the stone wall, but this was done with the building permit as well. Many years ago.
Yeah, you shouldn't be concerned about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience to be heard on this matter?
No hands are raised.
No. Any other questions, board? No. I move we close public hearing.
Second?
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye. I'll make a motion. I move that the Chabra application for a 3-foot variance for the installation of a generator be approved for the following reasons. The applicant has been thoughtful about the placement of the generator. There are obstructions that make the amount of the variance what it is. It's not possible for it to be lessened. There will be no undesirable change produced in the character of the neighborhood. The benefit cannot be sought through other means. The requested variance is not substantial. There will be no adverse impact on the physical environment, and the alleged difficulty is not self-created. You will have 6 months to start and 1 year to complete. And do you want an as-built?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we'll need an as-built survey. Go ahead, George.
And ERB approval, a condition on ERB approval.
Yes. I already submitted a wetlands application, so that's in process.
ARB.
So that's required before proceeding, I understand that, yeah.
Okay.
And also, just for the record, there was a letter sent in by a neighbor who just wants to say that they have no issue with it. But I want for the record, neighbor at 14 Chappaqua Mountain Road, Robert Bloom.
Yes. They're at 10 Chappaqua Mountain Road, there's the next house.
Sorry.
He's at 14, that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. For these reasons, we should approve.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Chopper, you have your variance.
Thank you very much, really appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, just before you continue, the architect for 89 Hilltop, he's in attendees, so maybe he's not able to get in, but I do see him. His name is Philip. So I don't know. I don't wanna skip over.
Do you wanna go back to that one? Do you wanna- Rosenthal, should we get it back to that one, Ken?
Do we have Mr. Rosenthal's architect?
Maybe
Present?
I should tell the guys in the back, maybe they can.
He needs
get
to
in.
move him from attendee into
Oh, okay.
Panelist.
participant.
Yeah.
Hold on for 1 second, please.
So there's an architect, he's an attendee, and he's talking about potentially looking at I just see him listed in the. Thank you.
They can do that, Jackie? Yeah.
Rosenthal.
Oh,
Oh, okay, come on up.
Sorry, I was a participant and not a.
Don't take your jacket off, come on up.
No, I didn't regain it. I had a dream last night that this happened and it's like insane. Hi.
No, you're up. So, tell us about your application.
Hi, I'm Philip Olive. I'm tech. So
here now.
what started this whole process is that my client, Jenny and David Rosenthal, are looking at putting a geothermal system onto their property. They've installed solar panels. They want to get as much off the grid as possible, increase efficiency of their house. So they need to basically demo out their existing deck to put the wells in where it is now. So they will have to demo out that. The deck is about 20 years old. It's pretty worn out. It's fairly illogical as these, well, it seems to meet the architecture with the rounded edges, but isn't really well thought out from a sort of use perspective. So we would square off that existing deck after it gets demoed, after the wells are put in, we'd rebuild, we'd put in an existing orthogonal deck, and then we would like offset from the edges to put in a pergola, a prefabricated pergola roof structure that has automated louvers that can be closed up and opened up, and that would serve as a dining lounge area. So the current deck does have a variance. It was granted way back when in the files. So we're rebuilding largely in the same position, bumping out a couple of a foot or two. But inset from that edge, from the deck edge onto the area, we'd like to create a sheltered space. It's quite high up in the air, so I think the deck makes the pergola sort of encloses you a little bit, gives you a bit of experience of the landscape rather than this sort of perch. We did receive ARB approval. I had photos and to help you understand the site a little bit. It's unfortunate that the house is where it is, most likely because of
You want to
topography.
be in a different town, is that what you mean?
No, it's a topography. The topography means that it has to be, well, I guess it was sited within the setback. And therefore anything that we do on that side requires a variance.
And so it's a little, so the shaded area on your key plan, that's the deck, is that?
That's the new deck that we're
the new
proposing.
deck, right, okay.
And I can hold the plans and talk to them. I actually
No,
have it
no,
on
we-
screen. But I don't know if you had a chance to visit the
No,
the site.
we understand the application, I think. Any questions about the board? No. Anyone in the audience to be heard on this matter?
No hands are raised.
No, okay. I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second?
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
I'll make a motion. I move that the Rosenthal application to reconstruct a deck and pergola be requiring a variance of 12 feet for the deck and 10 feet for the pergola be approved for the following reasons. The applicant is making energy improvements to their home. As a result, they are demolishing the current deck, which has received a variance previously. There will be no undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. The benefit cannot be sought through other means. The requested variance is not substantial. There'll be no adverse impact on the physical environment, and the alleged difficulty is not self-created. You'll have 6 months to start, 1 year to complete. We'll need a as-built survey upon completion. There were no neighbors that spoke in opposition also.
I'll second.
Chairman Kennedy.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye.
Thank you, you have your variance.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
bearing with me on that slide pick.
We were literally just switching you over when you walked in.
Oh, it's
I noticed you were in attendance, so we were switching you over.
Oh, I just jumped, I was on that slide. Thank
Salazar is next, and before we start,
Go for it.
in the interest of full disclosure, the Salazar property is a corner lot on corner of Bedford Road and Kathleen Lane. The Salazar rear yard abuts the side yard of my son who lives on Bedford Road. Unless there are objection from our legal counsel or from any neighbors, I do not intend to recuse myself from this application. I do think I could be fair and objective, but as I said, if there are any objections to that, I will recuse myself.
As long as you can be, as long as you have determined you can be objective, then there's no problem if you continue on having disclosed the potential interest in
I
that.
feel I can, it has no effect on my son's property, it's just that he's there.
Okay, Mr. Salazar.
Good evening, I'm here, Alan Pilch from ALP Engineering. I'm, with me also, as you see, is Ever Salazar. And thank you for,
Could I ask if you could speak up, get closer to the microphone? We're having difficulty hearing you.
sure, does this help? Can you hear me now?
It might be something that they could do inside, because they changed it before and it sounded better.
Hey guys, is there anything you can do to enhance?
Working on it.
Thank you. Just give us a second.
Sure.
Let's hear Mr. Pitch.
Okay, again, Alan Pilch, ALP Engineering. Is that better?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. If I might I share my screen on this?
Sure.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
So Mr. Salazar's property is located at the intersection of Bedford Road and Kathleen Lane. It's number 1. It is the first house on the left-hand side when you're driving in from Bedford Road. And what this application involves is the reconstruction of this driveway or parking area in the front yard for Mr. Salazar. The original driveway, or the parking area off the driveway, was approximately 15 feet from the front lot line. And there was a plan that was put forward by myself as engineer and Jerry Barrett, who was the landscape architect, on it to relocate, to actually shrink this parking area so that it would be 25 feet from the front lot line. Unfortunately, this is the former parking area, and on the current survey, as you can see, that parking area is 22.9 feet from the front lot line. Unfortunately, that the town code requires that the parking be set back from the front lot line so that it's greater than 1/2 of the district front yard setback. Given that the front yard setback is 50 feet, the parking area had to be 25 feet from the front lot line. And so we're actually requesting, now that it's 22.9 feet away, and this parking area is paved with asphalt, it is edged with Belgian block curbing or stone. So we're requesting that the board kindly grant variance of 2.1 feet for this parking area. I would like to also note that the prior activity within this property, it's only 0.6 acres, it's a very small property, was really done, it was very minor grading, really no grading was performed, only smoothing of areas to establish a new lawn, and that is what Mr. Salazar has done. I can I'll also just point out that from my perspective as engineer on the property, what I had done as well was for this new parking area that was here in the front line, there's a break in the curbing and a rain garden and a bioretention area, which was designed in the front yard. I did perform deep hole percolation tests, and both were reviewed by Perry Rowe at the town. And so he was cognizant of the drainage conditions, which are actually very good in the front yard, and that's the work that was done on the property. So again, the request is, as I say, unfortunately, the redesign, the shrunken, if you will, parking area in the front yard, which is supposed to be 25 feet away from the front lot line, ended up being 22.9 feet from the front lot line. So we are requesting a 2.1 foot variance to legalize this revised parking area.
I have to apologize. I'm not sure that I followed. Why is it that you can't get further away from the lot line to not require a variance? I understand you're shrinking the parking area, but why can't you go further?
Oh, it already, the work is already completed. What you're looking at here on the, and I'll share the screen again. This work is already completed, so this is a Belgian block curve around the perimeter of the parking area. This is a paved area. There's a drop curve here, conveys runoff into a bioretention area. And this curbing is already here. So what we're requesting is the board kindly permit Mr. Salazar to retain this parking area, although it is, I know it's 22.9 feet away from the front lot line, but since it's already constructed and there's actually a fairly substantial, maybe I can show some pictures of it. There's a lot of vegetation which has already been constructed along the front of the property, and so it really is well hidden. The parking area is well screened from the front lot line. So, it really has, I'll say, minimal impact onto the street or onto the neighborhood because it is well screened.
Why did the parking area require reconstruction?
Originally, if I guess this was the original paved area from the parking area, and Mr. Salazar constructed a new parking area in the front, which unfortunately was as little as 15 feet away from the front lot line. And so I guess the town was made aware of it, and he was requested to fix this situation. And what he ended up doing was, improve the situation. It reduced the amount of parking area and impervious surface, but it did not accomplish what the town had requested, unfortunately. But it's very, very close, and it really is a minor, I use the term discrepancy in extending that additional 2.1 feet closer to the front lot line. As I say, there's a lot of new landscaping which was installed within the property along the perimeter of the front yard, and so this proximity of the corner of the parking area to the front lot line is really quite hidden from view from Kathleen Lane.
How many vehicles can the parking area accommodate?
I believe it's about 3 is what's typically parked there. There's only one car garage here too, which is kind of small.
When was this constructed?
It's only 3.
Pardon me?
When was this constructed?
In 2022, last year. Even as late as during the fall.
So Mr. Salazar was aware that it had to be 25 feet from the road, correct?
He probably was, but I believe, however, the contractor had not constructed it to
distance.
So I think here, I don't know if Susan Meany is present to be heard on this matter, but are you aware of her comments about the scope of the construction and the work that has been going on?
Yes. And actually, I don't think it accurately portrays what was going on there. There's a lot of vegetation which was installed. You know, there's a lot of perimeter planting that was placed by Mr. Salazar. And so naturally, you know, to bring in a lot of plant materials, and you saw that picture that I showed of the along the street frontage along Kathleen Lane, just as an example. There obviously is a lot of work that is done, both to install plant materials. You know, there's excavation that's done in order to install a planting pit. I saw Ms. Meany's comment regarding the drainage along Kathleen Lane. I would say that the drainage area which goes to that single catch basin on the north, this is on the, for lack of a better term, off the north side, Mr. Salazar's side, if you will, of Kathleen Lane has a drainage area of nearly 5 acres. And, you know, I'll say this drainage area here, let me reshare the screen.
Well, while you're doing that, so the landscape work is really not an element having to do with this application from, I think, my understanding. We're here about a parking area.
Correct.
In your estimation, has the reconstruction of the parking area had any adverse impact on Kathleen Lane or any neighbor in proximity to Mrs. Salazar?
I don't believe it can or did. The reason is that this lot has a, has a new drainage system that was installed, which includes a, you know, a bioretention area. And the bioretention area, you know, promotes infiltration into the ground, so it reduces runoff into the street. I think one of the issues that Ms. Meany had identified, and I know she showed pictures of, you know, vehicles in the lot during in Mr. Salazar's property during construction, and also showed, you know, ponding in the street. I think one of the issues that is occurring here is that Kathleen Lane, at that lower portion of it, actually right along the frontage of Mr. Salazar's property, is essentially level. And as you probably know, on level properties, drainage is never very positive, and there's just that one single drain inlet which is located there. And I think that's one of the issues that perhaps is being, you know, I'll say is the onus is on the town to improve this situation. I think what Mr. Salazar did by planting a lot of vegetation, by constructing, by reducing the size of the parking area that was there previously, by installing a bioretention area, has improved that drainage situation.
So,
what was there previously.
Okay, last point that I want to just review. So, I know that the building inspector went out and looked at the property, I think more than 2 years ago, and instructed the applicant to reconstruct the parking area so that it would be compliant. It's hard to understand after the town has gone to the trouble of informing the applicant of what is required, that he would then not put the property in a position to be compliant with the setback requirements. do you want to, and I know that the variance is not significant, but I think it's the principle of the matter here in part in that the town is gonna send our building inspector out to look at properties and to look at work, explain to the applicant what's required to be in compliance. And then if we were in a position where no one paid attention and everyone did what they wanted to, that, you know, the town would be in disarray. Could you explain for us the financial implications of asking you to now put the parking area in compliance? Could you help us understand the scale and scope of what would be involved and cost?
I think what would be involved would be saw cutting the pavement area and, you know, removal of that pavement, reinstallation of Belgian wall curbing, so it would be consistent with the rest of the perimeter of that parking area, and then reestablishing a lawn. I'm not sure I could quantify what the financial aspect of it, but that would be what would be involved. So it would be saw cutting pavement, removal of it, resetting in concrete, which is what was done, the Belgian block curbing, placing topsoil and reestablishing a lawn in that that 2.1 feet of presently paved area.
Okay. Do we have anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this matter?
You do have one hand raised.
Could you put that person through? Okay. Who is it that would like to be heard? Is that Michelle
Yes.
Mayrove?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hi. I live at 4 Kathleen. Mr. Salazar has, he has installed some very attractive trees on his property, so I commend him for that. But the problem is that when he installed them, he removed the drainage swale that had been collecting the rainwater runoff in the neighborhood before. And so now you have this massive puddle at the corner of Kathleen and Bedford. Before Mr. Salazar did his work on the property, that water would have drained into the swale. My understanding is that the town is aware of this, and so there was some kind of rain garden that was installed, but none of this is working, and having a larger hardscape area on the property probably only compounds the problem. So my concern here is drainage. I don't have a problem with the way the property looks, and I don't personally have a problem with Mr. Salazar having a larger parking area, but all of this work, when taken together, seems to have created a problem with drainage in our neighborhood. And, you know, people walk their dogs, they, you know, my son likes to walk to A&S, and you can't walk on that corner for, you know, for a lot of the time, because, you know, it rains here a few times a week. So I don't know if this application is an opportunity to address some of that, but I just wanted to be heard.
Okay, we appreciate your comments. Is it Mr. Pillage? Is that, am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Pilch.
Pilch. Could I ask if, Ms. Mayrov, you may have not heard earlier, so the landscaping work is not in the purview of this board. But we do have obviously the applicant and his architect engineer here. Is there an acceptance on your part that this is something that you could look into to see if you might do something that could mitigate what is occurring as it's impacting Kathleen Lane?
Sure, I think I could certainly speak with the town engineer. I think that would be the appropriate person to speak with, or with his assistant Terry Rowe, in order to see what we can do to perhaps improve that situation.
Okay.
I think one of the issues here, and it occurred, it was prior to this as well. I don't think it was the landscaping that was done within the property that's impacted it, but the catch basin is off the edge of the road. It's actually in a lawn area off the edge of the road, and I think that's one of the reasons why there's been, I'll say, maybe there's ponding that occurs out there, is that the catch basin is in kind of called an unusual location.
Okay, thank you.
But it's something I can certainly work on with, Terry Rowe and with Mr. Cioli.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments by the board? I move we close. Tom, did you want to? No, okay. I move we close public hearing.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardino.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye. Would like to make a motion? I'll make a motion. I move that the Salazar application for a, are we certain that it's 2.1 feet? Is that?
That was in accordance with the survey that was done by Rod Johnson's office.
Variance of 2.1 feet. For a front yard variance for the existing reconstructed parking area on this property. The applicant has reduced the size and the intrusion into the setback.
Are you making a motion to approve or deny? I don't think I heard that.
Oh, I'm to approve.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be sure I
Okay.
heard what I heard.
No, thank you. Okay. The applicant has made the effort to reduce the size of the intrusion into the setback. However, failed to the extent of the variance that's being requested at this time. In spite of this, it's my recommendation that we approve the variance. There will be no undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood by virtue of the fact that the size of the area is being reduced. The benefit cannot be sought through, well, the benefit can be sought through other means if the board so chose to insist that the applicant observe the setback. The variance is not substantial. There'll be no adverse impact on the physical environment, and the alleged difficulty in this case I view as being self-created. In spite of this, I think the applicant, as I started by saying, has made the effort to reduce the size of the parking area, limiting the intrusion into the setback. As the work has been completed, do you require an as-built survey, Tom?
We currently have.
We have one, okay. And for these reasons, we have heard from neighbors, but not as it relates to the parking area, but other matters having to do with landscaping and water on Kathleen Lane. The applicant has offered to contact the town to try to address that situation. For these reasons, I think we should approve. What happens if,
You don't have a valid motion if there's no second.
so do we ask someone who wants to
If there's
make a new motion to decline?
If that's how the board wants to proceed, I think we would recommend that, if you're gonna decline, that you set forth the reasons and we could prepare a written resolution that you could vote on at the next meeting. If that's gonna be if that's the preference of the board, that you poll the board members, and if that's where you wanna go, you give us the reasons for the denial and we can prepare a written resolution setting forth the reasons for the denial.
And you would make the motion for us to prepare the resolution, which again is voted on at the next meeting, so no actual vote.
Okay. Are you inclined to decline the application?
Yes.
And decline? Yep. And decline? Okay. So I would move that we request council to create a resolution that the board could vote on at the next meeting. You should be aware that preliminarily the board will not be voting to approve the application.
And they can submit materials for the next meeting if they have any updates or anything, if they wanna come back and revise something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do any of the board members have specific reasons they wanna provide for why they are not in favor of granting the resolution?
Well, I'm particularly troubled by the fact that this is a fairly new installation and the applicant was made aware of the setback and chose to ignore it. And I think to remove 2 feet is not
I would like to say something. So the reason is that sometimes we don't know. I'm a plumber, so I hire one guy. He screwed me up. I pay a lot of money, and then I hire another guy, and it happens. And then the Alan is helping me, right? So he knows the rules, but I don't know this. I know that my trade because it's plumbing, so I know codes of plumbing. But so only what I'm asking is to help me to not make more intense, because with everybody works for money. Because I mean, I work hard, so what we have. I know you guys trying to make the rules, but if this doesn't affect nobody, I guess why cannot help each other? Alan say, and I already hear Mitchell and my neighbor about the water. That mean we're gonna try to work with them to see what's going on with the water. Then maybe I didn't cause the problem, but I'm willing to help and see what we can do. Something that is powdered water and now it's getting on me, but why we cannot work together? If we want to need more emotion to do it, if it's not affecting everybody, I will get in the whole meeting, and I'm the only one I got denied. So that's my opinion. But you guys are the boss, you guys decide what to do.
George, you just want to respond just as it relates to the process, just so Mr. Salazar understands.
Yes, Mr. Salazar, officially there is no denial, first of all, tonight. It would be a motion for us as legal counsel to prepare a resolution which would be voted on. It would be another voting process next month. You are more than welcome to, whether it's redesign or resubmit some material, or you have some other, maybe drainage mitigation, whatever you think would help your case, you're more than welcome to submit that for the next meeting. The issue being that tonight, there was no second on the motion to approve, so again, it's not necessarily a denial at this moment tonight. But the process requires that we come back next month, so you do have that time to, again, if you wanna submit a letter, you wanna submit drawings, whatever the case is, something that you might think helps your case.
Mr. Chair,
Mrs. Salazar, could I just add one other thing? I would recommend that when you return, regardless of what other documentation or argument you wish to make, that you come back to the board and explain the financial implications of making the change so that you are compliant. I'm not saying that that will sway anyone's opinion, but it certainly will sort of complete the picture so that the board can make an informed decision at that time. Okay?
I understand your point, I mean, I don't help me with that. The only thing I wanted to say is that I have two kids, 7 and 4, I'm waiting for another kid, my wife is pregnant, so I don't have the money to be spending. I got screwed up 2 times for 2 contractors, so it's my fault to not hire the right person, but I was trying just to see if we can make this resolve and get it done, you know what I mean? Because like, I work with you guys, you know?
Okay, we've heard you, you heard what I had to say and what council has had to say. Eric, did you wanna add something?
Mr. Chair, I think I would recommend that you vote to adjourn, leave the public hearing open, adjourn it to the next meeting so you can accept further materials prior to the next meeting, either from the public or from the applicant. Our office will prepare a resolution as you've proposed. If new things come in and the board changes its mind, it can, that determination could be, can be changed at the next meeting, so.
Okay. So do we need a motion then?
Motion to adjourn and motion to also prepare the resolution.
Right.
Right. So I move that we adjourn this meeting, hold it open for next month, and that we ask council to construct a resolution to be reviewed by the board on or before the next meeting, so that a vote can be taken at that meeting.
I'll second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye. So we will see you next month.
Well, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I make a motion that the board approve or adopt the meeting minutes for the December 21st meeting.
Second.
Chairman Kenneth Cooper.
Aye.
Anthony Giardina.
Aye.
Howard Dubs.
Aye.
Michael Nolan.
Aye. We're off.
We have to think about